Hi, my name is Viraf, and I'm with North to South Realty, servicing the beautiful Tampa Bay area. I was actually born in India, but I came over the pond when I was only 5 years old. So basically, I had grown up here. I'm a local. Throughout my life, I have always had a passion for trying to connect buyers and sellers of just about anything. So it was a real natural progression for me to get a real estate license in 2018 so I could help sellers find the perfect buyers for their home. I really pride myself on being a problem solver and an out of the box thinker. One of my mantras is that if you're having a hard time finding the answer to a question, then change the question. This sort of mindset has had dramatic impact on my life, not just in work related, but in life in general. However, when you try to apply that mindset to work, it's amazing the impact that it can have. I love eating. I love all kinds of food, Thai, Chinese, you name it. However, my absolute go-to favorites, Indian cuisine as well as Caribbean. Now, having said that, I also love clam chowder and lobster bisque. Best place that I have ever found throughout all my travels for both of these is a little place in San Francisco called Hyde Street Raw Oyster Bar. Not only do I love eating, but I also love fishing, especially deep sea fishing. And believe it or not, the other thing I really love is actually enjoying the spoils from my fruit and vegetable garden out back at my home. While I am licensed to practice real estate in general throughout the state of Florida, I tend to focus more on the Tampa Bay area and more specifically Tampa. The reason being that there's such a wide diversity of properties as well as buyers there to make it easier and better to connect those buyers and sellers. The real estate business has dramatically changed over the years, but I tend to be a bit more old school in the delivery of the services that I offer. For example, I believe in doing open houses. I believe in marketing the heck out of each property, whether it's big or small, just to use the diverse marketing tools that are out there that help put your property in front of, or any client's property in front of as many eyes as possible. If you hire me to help you sell your property, then you're not only going to get somebody with a real estate license, you're actually going to get a strong marketer, a ferocious negotiator, and somebody who's going to treat the property and try to sell it to the same degree as if it were my own. You have my word on that. That's how I not only get your business today, but in the future, and positive referrals from you back to your friends, to your family, to your colleagues. And that's very important in any line of work. I tend to be a workaholic, and that lends itself well to the real estate business because you've always got to be on the go and always be on. However, if I do get a little bit of downtime, I do like to kick back and just get some mindless entertainment, maybe watch some Netflix or something of that nature. And if I get the opportunity to go away, I'm a sand, sun, and surf guy. I love to be able to get to a beach, enjoy the sun, enjoy the water, especially ocean water. My wife always asks me, when are you going to retire? Because she is now and she wants somebody to play with. And I say, I probably will never retire. Even if I get out of real estate, I'll always probably be doing something. Maybe my next passion might be to be an angel investor and help startup companies succeed and grow. I pride myself on being an out of the box thinker and a problem solver. So when everything comes together, that means I have achieved both of those. From a business standpoint, it's always a really good idea to stay in touch with your clients. You never know when they're going to need something. However, sometimes you connect so well with the clients that they actually become friends and you end up spending a lot more time with them on a social basis. In 2018, I was diagnosed with high blood sugar. My doctor immediately labeled it as diabetes and started trying to pour lots of medications down my throat. I was not overly pleased with that. I said, hold off. I'm going to do my own research. And I found that there was so much information as well as misinformation out on the web, but that didn't deter me. I kept diving in, digging in, just going as deep as I could on this. And fast forward to 2025, and I've actually got blood sugar under control at the healthy levels. My doctor is quite impressed with that. And I don't do it with lots of medication. I do it with other techniques like intermittent fasting. I specialize in downsizing for seniors, but those skills actually overlap on anyone selling a home. Part of my efforts has been to build a team as well as a network of service providers that I trust, so that if any challenges come up, I'm able to help my clients through our internal team, or to be able to put them in touch with somebody that I know that can do the job for them. Order situations tend to be a very challenging project. We had one such client where things were so packed, there was so much in the house and everything was all over the place that even the bathtub had been filled from the bottom right up to the ceiling with things that they had collected. And we couldn't sell the house like that. What we needed to do is we needed to clear everything out, but you couldn't even really move. So what we did was we started by doing things in layers. First step was to get a dumpster and start to get rid of things that really were junk. And then once we got rid of that, we made a little bit of space. Once we had a little bit of space, then we started bringing out things that we could sell. Once we had things that we could sell, then that made more room. And that process repeated itself until eventually we got everything out of the place. Everything was cleared out or sold. And then we were able to look at the property sale. Since I specialize in the seniors market, you tend to hear a lot of sad stories. Everything from loneliness to divorce to death, just everything. And so when you run into that, you take a bit more of a personal vested stake in the success of the project, just because you want to do good by your customer. I tend to have more personal experience with residential as well as residential industrial investment properties. That could include both homes as well as condos. Having lived in condos in the past, being on the board, etc., has given me a fair bit of insight, which I can then use to help my clients who are in those same sort of situations. One doesn't really need an SRES designation to deal with seniors. However, having one shows that we've taken the extra steps to learn what to do and, more importantly, what not to do in order to meet those seniors' needs.